2019, Uber appointed Lorraine Onduru head of communications for East and West Africa. So, what exactly does it take to walk, or do we say drive, in her shoes? There is only one way to find out. Let's go and find out. Now, welcome to Her Standards. My name is Queen Tambori. As I had mentioned earlier, our guest is none other than Lorraine Onduru, and she is the head of communications East and West Africa for Uber. We're very excited to have her on this show today because, as usual, remember, this is a show where we celebrate women that you need to know, and there's a very good reason why we want to celebrate her. We are available across all social media platforms on KTN Home, but remember, you can also hit me up at Queen Tambori on the same socials, on Facebook, on Instagram, on Twitter. You can also find me on LinkedIn as well as TikTok. Now, without much ado, please allow me to welcome Lorraine to the show. Karibu sana.
Thank you very much.
How are you?
I'm very well. How are you?
I'm good. Nice to
Great.
meet you in person.
Same here. Thank you.
You know, I have a list of women I am supposed to meet before the end of 2022, and you are actually in my list.
I'm so glad to hear that.
And you know, it's pretty much simple because I was looking up information about you, the growth. I'm looking at your age. I'm looking at the kind of work that you've been able to put out there. I mean, I just felt inspired. So I was really looking forward to having you on Her Standards.
Thank you so much.
Awesome. So we just get right into it?
Yes, please.
Awesome. So you, before joining Uber, Lorraine, you were also account director at Hill and Knowlton Strategies in Ghana, in Nairobi.
Yes, I was.
Quite an impressive CV. I mean, you're globetrotting. Huh? You're globetrotting. You're not just ordinary. You just don't do Kenya. Tell me about yourself.
Well, so I am, my name is Lorraine,
Yes.
and thank you for that. I am a communicator. I've always been a storyteller, telling different stories, sometimes for clients, sometimes on different issues that are happening. Sometimes I feel a story is being told about me as well, but that's always been the core of my work experience, telling stories.
Telling stories.
Yeah.
Where did you go to campus, for example?
I went to school in the Netherlands at the Holland University of Applied Sciences in Rotterdam.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, and you studied communication?
Yes, I did.
Okay.
Yes.
When you joined Uber in 2019.
Yes, I did.
Had you ever imagined that you'd be working for Uber at that level?
Interestingly,
Yeah.
I always, when Uber joined, started in Kenya, I was so excited about it because I'd heard about it in other markets, so I was quite excited when they came to Kenya. I didn't know that I'd be working. It's just how God ordered my life, but I was working at a communications firm and then came to Uber in 2019. Yeah.
How did that happen?
Well, a couple of years before that, I'd seen that they had there was an opening for the role, and then when at the right time is when they actually reached out and they asked if I was interested in the position, and I was. So it just happened at the right time for me to transition from where I was at the agency to now taking up this new role, handling communications at the time for East Africa, which has now since morphed into West Africa as well.
One of the things that emerge, there has actually been research that has been done about it, is that as women we tend to shy away from applying for certain jobs because we feel like we are not qualified for them. On the contrary, say there's a job that has a vacancy somewhere, and the other gender, the male counterparts, and they realize the vacancy is there, they will apply for it whether they're qualified or not. Now, for women, it's like when I look through the job description and I realize I don't have possibly 50% of the job requirements, I will keep off. So in your case, when you noticed that Uber was looking for head of communications for
Yeah.
East and
Yeah.
West Africa. Did you have that moment when you doubted yourself, and how did you, push yourself through? How did you just decide to go for it?
So there are a number of reasons why that is the case in terms
Yeah.
of why a woman would feel, she would hold back,
Yeah.
or feel like she's not qualified. But I feel what's really important is, I think when you're approaching something, is to understand who you are first of all. That will actually help you to alleviate that feeling of doubt, because you're approaching it from a point of understanding your identity. So then it's not, you understand that this actually is right for you. This is where you should be. These are the things you should be pursuing.
Yeah.
As opposed to trying to find things to make you feel a certain way. So I think that helped me to go for it, in that sense, because I knew that it was the right thing for me at the time. Yeah.
You read through the description and you realized, and you thought to yourself, this.
It actually, it almost, how can I can't describe it. It felt like it was the time for me to enter, to take that up at the time.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was how I approached it.
That's how you went for it.
Yes, I did.
Do you ever experience what is popularly known as the imposter syndrome? And how do you overcome that? Sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The challenges the times that have been challenging for me have been when I've not, I would say, understood how to approach certain things from a perspective of, like I said, identity. So when that wasn't fully understood by me, I would be trying to resolve things from the wrong standpoint. You know what I mean? Like going after the wrong goalpost in that sense. So that's a challenge that I've since learned to overcome it, because then once I understand who I am, then I understand what I can't do, and I'm not trying to look for external things to validate or anything. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Sometimes when I'm coming to interview guests, I actually ask a few of the people in my network.
Yes.
The kind of questions that they want me to ask my guests. So I sent out a few notes before having this interview, and one of them actually told me to ask you what it takes to be in your position, in your shoes. How did you grow from, the entry level, the jobs that you were doing, up to a moment where you're now you're actually sort of like a regional head of communications, because you're in charge of West Africa as well as East Africa. So what does it take to be Lorraine Onduru? What kind of discipline do I need to have? What kind of skills and competencies do I need to have? Yeah.
Well, before we get into the competencies and the trainings, which a lot of the times we feel, I think there's an idea sometimes we feel like, okay, once you have the qualifications on paper, then you feel like, okay, now I can actually go after anything. Or you feel like, okay, now this is what makes me, so let me pursue it. But I think even before we get into the external, a lot of what makes me is internal. So what kind of person do I want to be? What kind of thought processes do I have? What kind of perspective do I have on life? What will I go for? How do I want to be a leader? Those are the thoughts that guide me first. And then, yes, it's true, you do need the qualifications, you do need the skill, you need the right kind of ecosystem around you, people who will always see you for who you really are and champion you and challenge you to keep going forward. So, yeah, I think it's a mixture of both those elements.
Nice. So you like driving?
Yeah, I do. Yes.
What kind of vehicles do you like driving?
It's an interesting question.
I know.
Yeah. Well, I've always been into. I think I prefer city kind of sports. Yeah.
That's me too.
Really?
Yes.
Yes.
I'm not into SUVs and stuff. I like posh, sporty.
Yes, sporty vehicles.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Luxury.
Yes, I wouldn't mind. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Is there a specific brand, or will I be putting you in trouble if you say there's a specific brand that you like? I'll be putting you in trouble.
I'd rather not.
You'd rather not talk
Yeah,
about it.
yeah.
Anyway, I bring this up because can you imagine that there are certain regions in this country where women are not allowed to drive? Yes.
Wow.
Areas, I don't know, there's a story that was, I think it's in Garissa. Yeah, what does that make you feel?
I think in general, when I hear stories about limitations that women have, whether it's on like their own, sometimes you can feel like I can't do this.
Yeah.
Sometimes we place these limitations on ourselves. Sometimes they're imposed on us by others. It does make me feel sad because I know that there's so much more. I've watched my own journey and I've seen that I had a lot of those limitations on myself,
Yeah.
but you know, I'm grateful to God because I was able to, He helped me to overcome them. So, yeah, that makes me feel, I wish more people knew that you don't have to limit yourself to that.
Yeah. Now, if you move now closer to the organization that you work for,
Yes.
I know over the years there's been a lot of change in terms of gender parity in the transport industry. Personally, I've been driven by a female driver.
Yes.
Yeah.
Glad to hear it.
And I felt really, it felt good, you know, just forget about the challenges, which we'll talk about later. So in terms of the digital cab or the digital apps
Yes.
that people are using for transport, how would you describe the makeup in terms of gender parity, female versus male drivers? Is it balanced? Are we getting there? Is there something that needs to be done?
Okay.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't say it's like a complete, a clean balance, 50-50% balance, but I think it's certainly quite open. It's certainly available for anybody to take up as an opportunity.
Yeah.
I think if I look at Uber, for instance, we actually are quite keen, or should I say driven, to ensuring that both men and women are able to thrive on the platform. And we love it when more women take up ride-hailing as a business for themselves. So I think we're actually getting there. There's more work that can be done, but I think we're actually moving in the right direction.
In the right direction.
Yeah.
How would you describe the percentage? How is the balance? How are the numbers right now?
They're increasing from at least where they were before, because I think one of the things that we saw over the pandemic is a lot of people looking for ways to pivot from what they were doing before. So they have considered taking up ride-hailing as a means to sustain them, to earn an income.
Yeah.
So I think they're certainly increasing. Yeah.
It's certainly increasing.
Yes.
Again, the fact that we are having more female drivers, it comes with its pros and cons. On one hand, we are celebrating the fact that we are narrowing that gender gap, but at the same time, there are other issues that are coming up. Someone once said that it's not a smooth ride for female cab drivers in Kenya. Have you heard about that?
I know there are challenges that that women in ride-hailing face.
Yeah.
I think one of the things that are a concern, let's say for both actually across the board, is on safety. And a lot of people want to know what is in place for them when, maybe even as a passenger, when you're taking a trip, or even as a driver, you're in the ride-hailing, like you have your own vehicle and you work on the platform.
Yeah.
And I think for us that's something that is really central to what we do. Safety is something that we embed in actually all of our operational activities. So we look at, okay, so what are the challenges that someone is facing? If it's when you're driving and you need to inform your loved one that you're on a trip at a certain time, there actually are features that you can use, like Share My Trip, so you can inform a loved one that this is where I am. They can see your GPS. Because of GPS tracking, they're able to see your location and what time you'll arrive at a certain place. You can also verify your trip before you connect to the passenger, or we call them riders. Before you connect with them, there's a PIN that is unique that is shared with the driver and with the rider as well, so they're able to verify their identity. So these are some things that help to alleviate the safety concerns that people
that are
may have.
involved.
Yeah.
And then they also besides the safety concerns, they also trust issues, because I have heard a few people talk about express their sentiments in the event that they are able, if they're using a female rider or driver.
If you're so the person driving is
a
the driver,
driver,
and the one in
the
the
passenger
seat
is a rider. Is a rider.
Yes.
So for female drivers,
Yes.
are they able to protect themselves, say in the event, in the unfortunate event of, say, a security incident like carjacking, or sexual assault, or maybe they drive into a neighborhood that is not considered safe? So what are some of the measures that you're taking at Uber to ensure that the female drivers, well, of course, even the male drivers are covered, because security doesn't actually choose.
That's true. So some of these, the incidents you've mentioned, like we actually have an incident response team that is able to provide 24-hour emergency assistance. So in the event that there's an incident that happens, maybe an assault or an altercation, as the driver, you're able to use an emergency button and be able to access these services. They're actually available as well. We also work. We work closely with law enforcement. So in the case where there needs to be investigations done, we're able to share the information based on the particulars of the trip, and they're able to also take that up as well. So I think we understand those challenges, and we try to mitigate those situations from happening. A lot of Uber incidents, or Uber trips rather, happen without a safety incident occurring, but when they do, we do take very strict measures to provide the support that is required.
Should we trust female drivers?
Absolutely, absolutely. Yes.
Why should we trust them?
Because I mean, they have all the qualifications. I mean, just like the male drivers do. There's no reason why them being female should lessen the trust. They're just as the same Uber experience that you have with any other driver is what you'll get.
In case someone is wondering, I'm asking on behalf of male riders. Remember, we've been told the riders are the passengers and the drivers are the drivers. So I've had a lot of safety concerns from male riders claiming that they don't feel safe, being driven by female drivers. But here, Lorraine, the head of communications at Uber, says it is fine, we can trust them. Are you on social media?
Yes, I am.
Okay. How do we find you?
So I'm on LinkedIn, I'm also on Twitter, and I'm on Facebook as well.
As
Lorraine Onduru.
Lorraine Onduru.
Yes.
So if you have any questions for Lorraine, remember you can always reach out to her on social media platforms. We are also available across all social media platforms at KTN Home, at Quintambori. You can also talk to our producer. She's called Grace Waweru. We are talking about the transport industry again. It is very important. We are talking about safety issues. We are talking about security issues. But above all, we are also getting to know a woman who is thriving in that industry, and she is called Lorraine Onduru. She is the head of communications East and West Africa. So we have quite the big shot on her standards today, setting extremely high standards. But now I'm just going to come back to looking at some of the what do I call them, the low moments, of being in that transport industry. There was a report that was released. I think the story was carried by the Star. There's a report that Uber released. It was the second US safety report. I'm sure you've come across it, which showed that there were about 998 sexual assault incidents, including 141 rape reports. That was back in 2020. Now, if you look at the total numbers of 2019, from 2019, I think they're coming to about 3,000. Wow, that's a lot. 3,820 reports, the 5 most severe categories of sexual assault between 2019. How bad is sexual harassment in the transport industry?
Like I said, safety is something that we take very seriously, and I think that we have certain standards that we like to maintain on the platform. For instance, and we have community guidelines that provide the standards that we expect both drivers and riders to adhere to. So whenever something like sexual assault occurs, it's not something that we tolerate at all, and we have, like I said, we have measures in place to address this whenever it occurs on the platform. So if it's depending on when it occurs, if it's perpetrated by a driver, then they are deactivated on the platform, and if it's perpetrated by a rider, they are also they lose access as well to the app. So we do the due investigations, and then we're able to make those decisions because it's not something that we tolerate at all.
Good to know. Remember, this is Her Standards. This is the show that gives you your weekly dose of inspiration. On this particular episode, we are hanging out in the able company of Lorraine Onduru, who is the head of communications in East and West Africa for Uber, having very intense conversations, difficult conversations about the safety concerns, security concerns, but also we would also like to see some of moments when we can celebrate what has been happening in the transport industry. Remember, you can hit us up on social media at KTN Home, at Quintambori. You can talk to our guest directly. She's Lorraine Onduru. You can discover her also on social media. We would like to take a short break. This show is actually, we're being hosted at the Capital Club. The beautiful environment where we are seated is the Capital Club. You can, you never know, you might want to come here and find out what they're all about, or you can also look them up on social media. My name is Quintambori, and we'll be right back. Well, we're glad you could still hang out with us. This is Her Standards with me, Quintambori. Today we are in the company of Lorraine Onduru, who is the head of communications for Uber in East and West Africa. We are getting to know her a little bit. We also want you to get to know her a little bit and why she is one of the women in Kenya you need to know who are thriving in the transport industry. Remember, you can always talk to us directly at KTN Home, across all socials. Hit me up at Quintambori, or you can also talk to our producer. She is none other than Grace Waweru. Before the break, we were trying to figure out, sexual harassment is such a big deal across different industries in the world, and the transport industry is not any different. So there's a report that was released by US Safety. Uber released its second US Safety report, which documented a total of 998 sexual assault incidences, which included 141 rape reports, and that was in 2020. Now, Lorraine, I know this report touches on US the safety of the Uber industry in the United States, but of course, I wouldn't really want to say that we are safe here in Kenya, based on what I've been seeing in media, incidences where people are claiming that they've been harassed or by the rider, by the drivers, or the drivers have actually been harassed by the riders. What would you say is the current situation in Kenya in terms of sexual harassment? Yeah, or the regions where you represent.
So, like I mentioned, safety is something that is quite central to what we do at Uber. So I think we understand, we feel responsible to ensure that, both for our community, that's riders, drivers, anybody essentially who uses the Uber app, that their safety is paramount. When it comes to sexual assault cases, this is not something that we tolerate. We understand that certain incidences may occur, but we also like a lot of Uber incidents, Uber trips take place without without incidents. But when they do occur, we do take swift action to ensure that everybody feels safe. So we have certain community guidelines that guide how we operate it, so that everybody feels safe while using the app to go to for the different reasons that they use the app.
So say we're going to look at two scenarios, one for the driver and one for the rider.
Yes.
So in this case, I'm a rider.
Yes.
I have boarded an Uber and I suddenly feel like I am not safe.
Yes.
What should I do?
Well, depending, so you can, within the app, you can report exactly what the issue is. You'll be able to if let's say, I'll give an example. If let's say the trip stops and it takes a little bit too long, and there's a way that the app will track that and be like, okay, your trip has stopped, is everything okay? You actually get a notification on your phone asking, is everything fine? How come your trip hasn't proceeded? Because there's a certain estimated time for you to get from one destination to another. That's called ride check, and we have it so that if in the event that something is actually not okay, you can report that immediately. But in the event that there's maybe an altercation or anything that makes you feel uneasy, you can report that immediately on the app, and somebody will call you and find out more details, and also check in with the driver to also understand what's going on, so that investigation happens quite swiftly as well. Yeah.
And if the coin flips,
yes,
it's
the driver feeling unsafe. They actually have the same safety features available to them. Yeah.
How often does that happen?
We deal with it on a case-by-case basis, but I think the key thing is just how much of a focus we pay attention to ensuring that everybody feels safe on the platform. Yeah.
Okay. I also received a question from, of course, one of my networks, and they were asking, but I've had this a lot too. I have actually been a victim. Where as soon as after enjoying my ride, making my payments, getting to my destination, later on when I'm now resting, which is, and I'm having my me time, I receive this very interesting message or phone call, and the person on the other end says, sorry, any mimi ndio niliku drive, and then they want to, they want to extend the handshake below the handshake beyond the elbow. Yeah, like they want to create a relationship with you, or they want to flirt with you. How do we deal with that? It happens a lot.
Well, that's unfortunate because we value that professionalism, so that everybody's feels respected and is able to carry on with what they're doing without feeling like their personal space is being infringed on. But I think in the event that any sort of interaction happens that makes you feel uncomfortable in any way, just report that as well, so that on the conversations that need to happen, whether it's with the driver, can take place. So, but I think just you can make use of the channels that are available to report that which makes you feel uncomfortable. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
There you had it. Many of you who have experienced that, the channels that you can use to report if someone invades your personal space after enjoying your ride. I think it is just essential. It's necessary for you to report the incident, ensure that you're taken care of. Lorraine, there are many women who are currently looking into joining the industry, the Uber industry, the transport industry, and they probably don't have access, or they don't know what it takes to be part and parcel of the industry. What do they need to know? Because this is a platform where we are proud to say that majority of our viewers are actually women. Yes, and they're women who like high standards. So
Yes.
yeah, tell me.
So are you referring to women who are looking to get into ride hailing?
Yes, yes.
Okay. Well, like I said, I think it's such an exciting space. There's so much. I think when I look at the opportunity in the ride hailing space, it's actually quite massive. There's still so much ground to cover. It's what we'd call maybe a sunrise industry. It's not. There's a lot of opportunity. So we'd encourage actually anybody who feels like they would want to give this a go. They're welcome to. Just the. I think if you visit our website or maybe a Greenlight Hub, you can find all the rest necessary requirements to actually to take up this as a business, basically, for yourself. Yeah.
Do you have funding? Do you have opportunities where women can you can connect women to assets such as vehicles where they can pay back kidogo kidogo?
Well, at the moment, we have had certain partnerships that we have rolled out to drivers, to women drivers on the platform, and those have been mostly to do with providing them with training along entrepreneurship. Because actually, if you consider this is like a business that you run, and so we've connected them with experts who are able to give them information on financial management, basically different soft skills that they would need to thrive in the business that they're running. So we're proud to have been able to do that as well. Yeah.
What's in store for you as Lorraine? Okay.
I want to say the sky is the limit, but I think it's even beyond that. I think I'll keep looking for opportunities to make an impact through what I do. It goes beyond enhancing me as a person, looking at how I can impact the next generation, help more people come into who they really are and thrive in it. Yeah.
Is there anything that we can celebrate about the transport industry or the industry where you are at here? Because there's been a lot of disillusionment in the past year.
I would say that there is actually. Yes, I know the past 2 years have been difficult, and I won't say that the transport industry has not been affected. But I think that there are a lot more. There's actually opportunities for anybody who would want to, who would find an opportunity there and take it up. So I would encourage anyone who is looking to get into that space to do so. I think there are a lot of partnerships as well. There are a lot of opportunities to basically grow if I look at Uber, for instance, a lot of products that we're launching as well, a lot of new innovations in this space. So yeah, just there's a lot to be excited about. I think
it sounds exciting.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, if you're not coming up with strategies for Uber or enjoying your ride in your sports car, which you won't tell us, we'll find you though. What do you like to do for yourself? How do you keep yourself grounded?
Well, like I said, I spend a lot of time, I think, in meditation. But what I mean by that is taking time to review where am I at, what's happening with me, where am I going, what are the things that are coming my way, how do I address them. I also spend a lot of time with my family as well, so yeah, those are some of the things that yeah.
I'm about to let you go, but before I do, we once interviewed a leading engineer, a female engineer. She's a woman and she's an engineer. And she actually runs her own company, but one of the challenges that she was facing was, interacting with male clients who thought that maybe a person of her gender was not supposed to hold the position that she held. I know in your industry, majority of the clients, majority of your employees are actually men. So how do you deal with it? Have you encountered any form of discrimination, and how did you overcome that?
I would say first at Uber, I think it's a little bit different in the sense of in my particular field, there's actually quite a strong focus on ensuring that you have a very dynamic and inclusive workforce. So I wouldn't say it's predominantly male dominated. But in the event, maybe what I can say, because I haven't experienced that, but what I would say to anybody else who has is just understand what's unique about you, and bring that to the table, because there is something unique. I think about women. There's something magical about women. So rather than try to measure up to the standards that are set by men or try to measure up to them, just be unique in who you are, and I think that will make a difference. Yeah.
It's funny that you bring that up. Women have also been accused of, women who rise up to certain leadership positions have been accused of being too bossy or to act like men. What do you think about that? Do you think we should change? Should we lead like men? Or should we lead like women? Yeah.
I think I find that a lot of the patterns that have been set in terms of what a woman should be like or what a man should be like are a little bit faulty, because they don't draw from, I mean, they draw from common ideas and perceptions, and then you find, okay, so if you're trying to be so much like a man, when you get there, like you said, that question comes up, like, okay, so why are you being too much of this? Why can't you be like yourself? And then if it's being like a woman, then you expect it to be, to behave a certain way. Exactly. I think if we set those expectations aside, it goes back again to who are you as an individual, who are you, how are you made, and then once you understand your identity, and I believe that comes from God, then you bring that to the table, and it's not necessarily you trying to measure up to certain standards or trying to be a certain way. You can actually be your unique self and thrive in that, actually. And lead, actually.
So you're talking, it's being authentic.
Being authentic
to who you are.
Yes, absolutely.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, remember, I think this will be a good point to end. This has been Standards with me, Queen Tambori. Thank you, Lorraine.
Thank you so much.
Do you have anything else you want to add?
I think I've covered it, but
you've covered everything.
Yes.
You haven't left anything out.
Yes.
Yeah. Thank you so much. Do you have any questions for our guests? Remember, you can drop it on the comments section. We are available across all socials at KTN Home. You can hit me up at Queen Tambori. You can talk to our producer. She's called Grace Waweru. You can find her also on social media. This is the show where we connect you to women who you need to know. On this particular episode, we were privileged to be in the company of one such woman, and she's called Lorraine. I keep forgetting the second name, Onduru, and she's the head of communications for Uber in East and West Africa. Quite an informative interview, if you ask me, for women who want to join the industry, for riders, as we have been informed, for drivers, and of course for any other stakeholders or partners who would wish to be part and parcel of this industry. My name is Queen Tambori. If you have any questions, if you have any comments, remember you can always reach out to us and we'll be able to get back to you as soon as possible. Well, till next time, we are thankful to our host for today. We are at the Capital Club. We hope to catch you soon next week. Bye for now.